Alright, welcome to the third and final part of our first-person narrative project setup video series. We are on the last part here where we will go over installing asset packages for a first-person game. Now, these aren't the asset packages you need for every first-person game, but these are the ones that we're going to use, initially at least, for our first-person game. And so we're going to install Pro Grids, Pro Builder, and then just the regular old rigid body FPS controller that's in the Unity standard assets, which is kind of surprisingly not easy to get sometimes. So anyway, let's get right to it. So beginning with Pro Grids here, we need to use kind of a newer feature in Unity that's called the Package Manager. It's sort of like an alternative to the asset store for things that really are integrated into Unity, but you may not always want to use them. So anyway, when you bring up this Package Manager thing, actually you might notice even if you look at your
battery low.
If you look at your Unity directory, it's includes this thing, a packages folder and a manifest.json file within it. This is kind of a newer thing, like I mentioned, and it has to do with this package manager window. So window, package manager brings us here, and we're looking for Pro Grids, but you're not going to see it because it's actually counted as a preview package. So you need to choose this advanced button here, and then you need to select Show Preview Packages. Now there's actually even some packages in the latest and greatest features that you have to actually go change some text files to even get to show up here. I'm not going to go into that because it's unnecessary for what we're looking for, but if you do some Googling, if you're looking for something you can't find, that might be what you need to do. Anyway, here we go. Here's Pro Grids. I really love Pro Grids. I've been using it since before they got bought by Unity. It's the same people who make Pro Builder. But anyway, it really gives us some nice grids to use for 3D work, and it'll help us keep everything lined up nice and neat. So we'll go ahead and install Pro Grids from the get-go here. And so I just hit install. It's doing its thing. I'm not going to go over exactly how to use Pro Grids and Pro Builder. There are videos for that, but I think, funny enough, I think that the actual installing of these things are the most mystical at this current junction. So this is how you get Pro Grids through the Package Manager. Alright, it's done. Next is Pro Builder. So we just have to find it in this little list, which I used to see it right next to my other one. There we go, Pro Builder. Let's go ahead and install this sucker. And you should notice it's things are filling into this packages directory, right? So I'm just gonna wait until it tells me it's done. I guess you can barely see a little progress indicator there. Alright, and that's done too, and we can just notice that there should be check marks by these things here now. Now, what did this change in our project? Well, let's take a look at the changes. We can see that the only things that are actually really coming up in our changed file list, even though it did all this stuff inside of packages, it's only changing that manifest.json as well as our Pro Builder settings.json. And I'm assuming that's because we don't need to upload all this stuff. Unity has it hosted wherever it lives on their end, and so we just need to tell the project that it's supposed to have these packages, and it'll automatically download them on whatever computer has cloned our project. So that's pretty cool. So we just are going to make sure we choose all here, and we'll just say Adds, Pro Grids, and Pro Builder. I could have probably added these as separate commits, but I guess I got carried away in my fervor for adding more packages. So we'll commit that. We will push it as soon as it's done doing whatever it's doing. So I push, and once it's done pushing, we will be ready to move on to our last step here. So let's see. The last step is going to be adding the standard assets, characters, first person character, rigid body FPS controller, and it has all these dependencies. So, best I can tell nowadays, it used to be you could go to assets, import package, and it would list standard assets if you downloaded them back when you installed Unity. I don't really think that's so much of an option anymore. So instead, we're going to go to the asset store. So if you don't have it open, it's Window Asset Store. And again, you have to be logged into this thing. And once it comes up, we're just going to search for standard assets. And this is it right here by Unity Technologies. Now, standard assets has all kinds of stuff included, like vehicles and some 2D stuff, a third person thing, whatever. I don't need all of that. I'm just going to get the only things I'm going to include are the things I want. But to start, you're going to have to click download if you've never downloaded it before. I've already downloaded it, so I can just choose import. But once you're done downloading, you're going to want to choose import if it doesn't come up automatically. Once you click it, it's going to do some stuff, and then it'll show you the familiar import package screen. Alright, there it is. It popped up. Now, like I said, I don't want all this stuff. This is a ton of stuff, and since now that we're dealing with the 3D project, we want to be a little bit careful about the stuff that we add, or the file size of our project will get out of hand quick, and it'll just become a pain in the butt to download and move around and work with. So I'm just going to uncheck. I'm going to uncheck and collapse. Uncheck, collapse. And that unchecked everything. So that's good. I'm starting from nothing. I'm just going to find the very few things I need. So I'm going to collapse 2D. I don't need it. Collapse cameras. I don't need it. I'm going to leave characters actually there because this is something I do want. So I will check first person character. Then I will go down this list until I find the next thing I don't need. Rollerball, don't need it. Third person, don't need it. Now, you may not think you need this, but these first person character controller scripts will not work unless you choose this one. So again, just to revisit these dependencies, you need these. I don't know why it doesn't automatically include them when you check the first person character folder here, but it doesn't. So anyway, take my word for it. Check that one, cross-platform input, and we will go ahead and check this one that says cross-platform input inside of this editor folder. We don't need the water. We don't need effects. We don't need environment. We do not need fonts, particles, physics, materials, prototyping. I think we actually do need utility. Yeah, utility is on my list of things that we need, so we will just click it. Probably don't need all this stuff, but I don't feel like skimming through it to eliminate exactly what we don't need. Maybe eventually we will prune that out, but not right now. Alright, so we're going to use utility. We do not need vehicles. You can check it out on your own though. They got a cool car in there. I think there's even an airplane. And that's it. So just to one more time show you what this looks like. Let's see if I can get it all on the screen at once. So we have characters, first person character. We have cross-platform input. We have this editor cross-platform input. And we have utility. So those are the ones and the only ones that I want to import here. I'm going to click import and wait for it to do its thing. Alright, it is done, so I'm going to test it out, I suppose. So let's go back to our scene window here. I can see my Pro Grids interface is turned on here, but don't worry about it too much. We will go ahead and test Pro Builder also. So there's a hotkey I'm going to use, Control-Shift-K, and it'll bring up a little window that says Shape Tool. And if that comes up, then we know Pro Builder worked also. So whatever, go ahead and make a cube. You'll learn about this later. For now, we're just making sure it works. So I hit build. Once it's done building that cube, you can just close this. So you press build, close that. If you missed it, again, the hotkey is Control-Shift-K. That brings it up. I can try and maybe remember what button does it if it's not a hotkey. Let's see. Tools, Pro Builder window. And that'll bring up a little thing like this, and you can click New Shape. That will do the same thing. But I don't want to get into all that right now. So anyway, just get yourself a cube, a Pro Builder cube, not a regular Unity cube. There's a difference. So here's a regular Unity cube, and this is a fancy Pro Builder cube. Kill your Unity cube. We will use this Pro Builder cube. And now I just need this for some geometry to drop my player on. So anyway, it will be very small, a 1 meter piece of geometry, just because I don't want to get into how to use Pro Builder yet. Anyway, next we are going to go into Assets. We are going to go ahead and find the hold on, let me fix this. I don't know if you know this, but this right here, slider, you pull it all the way to the left and you get a list so stuff doesn't get cut off. If you're trying to inspect textures or things like that have a visual, go ahead and use the bigger preview. But if it's just code or folder names, I really like to just pull this all the way to the left so it doesn't get cut off. Anyway, so we're inside of standard assets, characters, first person character, prefabs, rigid body FPS controller is the one I want to use. I'm going to drag him into my scene and try to position him. W hotkey is the move tool. It's actually snapping, so if it doesn't seem like it's working, just pull harder. That's what our Pro Grids is doing for us, is creating snapping. If you don't want it, you can just toggle it off for a sec. And I think my guy is on the cube ish. Alright, it's a small cube. Let's go ahead and run the game and we'll see what we got here. If I position myself correctly on this tiny little cube, I will not be falling infinitely to my doom, and instead I'll have a tiny little... Oop, I fell off. No, I didn't fall off. Anyway, I can free look. Oh, there we go. Now I fell. Anyway, it was working. I have a first person character, and I can move and look, and I can jump. But can't really move very far because I don't have any world to explore, and that's exactly what our next video series will be about. How to use Pro Builder and the Unity terrain assets to do some world building. So anyway, stay tuned for that, and you should have your project all ready to rock. Oh, one more thing before we forget. We're going to want to commit all of this. So we will check this all button. If you lost your GitHub window here, it's window GitHub, and it'll be wherever you left it last. Anyway, I want to make sure I commit all this stuff. So let's just review and make sure there's nothing crazy. So it's just my standard assets that I carefully selected only the things I needed, which is still shockingly very many things. the reason it's that many things is because there's just dependencies in these scripts, and you'll get errors if you don't include the ones I told you to include. And then we have some project settings and stuff. This all looks legit, so I'm going to type in adds standard assets FPS controller and commit it. It's a lot of files, so it just kind of takes a sec. And when it's done committing, I'm going to push it. Alright, it's done committing. I don't see any changes here anymore. It's not doing anything. I can look at my history and I can see, in fact, I have this commit and all these files added in it. So the last step here is to push. And you see the parentheses 1, that means that there's one commit to push. I will push it to the remote origin, and it says pushing here. It's kind of hard to tell, but it's doing it. And now it says branch pushed. And lo and behold, if I were to go check it out here, commits, there it is, boom. So here we are. We have finished this first video series. Next will be some world building. Until then, see you next time.